Hello Shiny viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. In this episode, I'm going to talk about my relationship with SE, extraverted sensing. So SE is the ENTJ's third function or tertiary function. So under normal circumstances, about 40% of resources is devoted to SE. But for this ENTJ, as I have mentioned in many of my previous episodes, I do not pay much attention or devote much of my resources to SE. In fact, I find it very hard to control my SE. This is probably because I have not devoted resources to SE. So as an ENTJ, I think I may be rather unbalanced in my distribution of resources to NI and SE, causing me to have very little control of my SE. Whenever I unleash my SE, it seems to go out of control and I have a very hard time. So, for example, if I let my SE loose, like I indulge in play or I indulge in just binge watching of videos, I go on an impulsive, compulsive mode. And I can do it for hours and hours and hours. Such a waste of time, and it's very hard for me to stop also. If I ever start watching a video or series of videos at 11 PM, I seem very compelled to have to finish it, and it can actually last until 4 AM. But luckily, not all forms of SE I am unable to control. So in terms of spending, I am still quite able to pull my reins. But recently I find that I have the habit of impulsive buying again. This is probably because I have more items on my plate, so I have more workload, and this causes me to be more stressed. So this also means that I am using my TE and NI more, causing much more energy to actually flow into SE and FI. So SE sometimes need an outlet. The problem with SE is that whenever I use SE, it also triggers my inferior function FI. And having FI triggered is not a very pleasant feeling, especially when you start feeling upset, angry, frustrated. There is a risk that SE can actually bring the FI to greater heights, and FI can cause SE to unleash the demon out by howling at people or by banging tables and such. When SE and FI work together for the ENTJ, it's definitely not a good thing. I start insulting people, I start criticizing people, I may bang tables, or I may create a lot of tantrums. So this is not something I would really like in myself. So most of the time I avoid SE. But the purpose of this episode is to talk about my relationship with SE. So I'm going to further talk about SE in 3 different aspects. The first aspect is dressing up. So one aspect of SE for me is to look good, to look presentable, to look attractive.
And now, Lady Gaga with fashion.
So to me, one very important aspect of SE is to look good, feel good. And dressing up may help one to achieve that. And of course, this is also why a lot of SE users, they really like to dress up, put on makeup, and go on a buying spree. Now personally, I think that it is very important to look presentable, and I would really like to look good most of the time. However, I think that if I have to have SE to always blow my hair dry, wash my hair cut, then put some concealer, wash my face, and find the right shirts, find a matching color, that kind of thing, it's really too time consuming for me. What this really means is that if I really want to look prim and proper so that I can actually go out to work or I can actually appear in front of the video, I would have to wake up 1 hour earlier. To me, I find that this is very inefficient. Even though on very special occasions like attending a party, having a ceremony where I am one of the speakers, I will have to do so. Otherwise, it is such a chore to have to do this every day. So I really admire all the SE DOMs and how they can actually go about every day spending hours dolling themselves up. I really envy the INTJs and the INFJs because SE is their inferior function. They don't care much about what they wear, how they look, and yet they can be so effortlessly attractive. Or is it just that the ENTJ or other NI types finding the INTJ or the INFJ attractive? So there is something about them that doesn't even need to look good, and they already look good. So personally, under normal circumstances, I do not want to devote much time to doing all these things. Sometimes I even forget to clean my face. On a normal day, I just go to the wardrobe and use my NI to pick the right shirt, and that's it. On a day where I have to go out on an important occasion, maybe to celebrate something or to meet my friends, then I will make a more elaborate choice, making myself very color coordinated and making myself stand out. Otherwise, my usual day is just go to the wardrobe, pick a shirt. Just like now. So there might really be times where SE is triggered, and for a consecutive few days, like 3 or 4 days, I start to really pay much attention to blowing my hair, putting some concealer, putting some whitening serums and such. But it cannot last beyond 4-5 days. Probably this is because SI is my blind spot. I cannot follow routines. So SE, if coupled with SI, is definitely going to be a serious problem for me. But enough said, as an ENTJ, I do think that it is very important to look presentable when going out. So even when I am going downstairs, I will definitely try to make myself look presentable. At least having a t-shirt that looks good, even if I have to go just downstairs to the supermarket. Okay, a second aspect of SE for me is exercising. For me, exercising is really very time consuming. I cannot keep up. Again, I have this 3 or 4 day spurt type of thing. For 3 or 4 consecutive days, I may be very obsessed with doing push-ups. I can do it for 3 or 4 consecutive days. And when I am really in a mood, I can do it every hour, that kind of thing. But then I am unable to keep up. Why? I think probably SE and SI are not my strong suit at all. I give up very easily, especially if SI is also needed. So I have very mixed feelings with regards to those people who can spend hours in the gym. I think they have so much endurance, they're able to do that kind of thing. But I also find that it's really a time waster. I cannot imagine myself spending 3 or 4 hours in the gym trying to build up muscles. For who to see?
I need a glass of water.
So all in all, for the things that I've discussed, I find them to be important, but somehow I just cannot keep up. Exercise is important, definitely, but I just can't keep up. So my SE is very weak. Now, let's talk about SE in other ways, like for example, spending, gambling, impulsive behavior. Those type of SE is something that I've also got trouble with, especially in the past. Now, I find that if I don't control my SE, it can go out of control. Luckily, TE is my dominant function. TE helps to restrain my SE. But there were times my TE is on rest mode or lets the SE go loose. This is where I may get into trouble. Like sometimes if I ever go on to a gambling trip, then I may have the tendency to want to recoup my losses, that kind of thing. Now, every time I go, I will remember that I only want to spend a certain amount of money and that's it. I leave immediately. If I let my SE still take over the game, then I think sometimes I may just go and draw more money and lose even more. Another problem in my use of SE is that I think that SE for me is very egoistic. So whenever I use SE, I tend to be more egoistic than usual. I am very happy that TE is my dominant function because TE does restrain my SE a lot. However, TE may be the cause of the SE being triggered. because I am, after all, a judger. So as a judger, inside my brain, right, I have a lot of judgment made unconsciously at least. Like somebody who can be walking in front of me may be really very slow. So when I am actually in a rush and someone in front of me is walking way too slow, very immediately I will get very irritated. Why are you walking so slow? So the efficiency is not there. Or if I am on a hurry and somebody is on the right side of the escalator, I will also start to wonder why this person is so inconsiderate. But luckily, I just usually take control of myself. If I had engaged SE, then I might be more hostile than usual. In many occasions, I use NI to envision what I might say to the person, but usually I don't say anything at all. Do you know that it's very inconsiderate for you to be on the right side of the escalator? Thank you. Now there has been a few occasions in the past where I unleashed this demon out and talk to the people like, you are blocking my way. No, I don't know how to do it very nicely. So I usually just forcefully impose my logic onto other people. Do you know it's very inconsiderate? I should have just said, excuse me, but when SE kicks in, the demon is just totally unleashed. I have no idea why this is the case. I'm not too sure for the fellow ENTJs whether it happens to you as well. I think as a judger, sometimes I find it very hard to engage in niceties like, excuse me. FE is my 8th function after all. But of course I envision that if I am really being bullied by others, then there might be a time when SE may come into use. So I recall a few occasions where I was actually queuing up for Fastboot, and then I was just the next person on the queue to actually get to order. But because of some hiccup in front, the previous customer may have ordered a lot of things, and one of the things is coffee, and because of that order, the coffee maker is jammed. So the crew had to man the coffee maker, so they put this next counter placed right in front of me and asked me to re-queue at the other queues. I will say, why am I made to queue when I am already next in the queue? I have to join all the way back. There were a few times I thought about it and I start to go back to the front and shout at the crew members in front. Yes, I really literally shouted at them because I was very angry. Of course, on hindsight, there were much better ways to actually approach this matter, and I don't have to embarrass myself in front of other people as well. Although that was quite long ago, I think that if this might have happened again, I might actually continue to do this because this is the easiest path that I could take whenever I'm approached with a problem like this. Sometimes I really wish that I had a much more developed EQ, but I don't. So as an ENTJ, F is a low function for me regardless of whether FI or FE. So this is a huge problem. So SE usually can trigger FI. So as I unleash, I just get myself more agitated and angry, and it just totally snowballs into a big ball of fire. That's no good. So at this moment, I would still want to keep SE in hold or in control because I have really experienced the power of SE in the ENTJ before. So fellow ENTJs, do you have similar problems that I've actually described in this video? Do comment and tell me. Okay, I hope that you have enjoyed this video as well. If you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can bring you more ENTJ and MBTI. Okay, I'm going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye!